to take a look behind the scenes and enter the impossible for the Between Two Minds podcast with our hosts, Judge Mentalist and Bernardo Rodriguez. Can they really tell you what you're thinking?
Good afternoon, good evening for some of you, good morning for others. It's Judge Mentalist here solo, and of course, again with the Michigan International Hypnosis previews text above my head, which means we are interviewing yet another amazing speaker. Now, I have interviewed today's speaker before, last year at the Michigan International Hypnosis Conference. After her talk, we did a live stream. So if you have been tuning into all of these, you are probably already familiar with Connie. And so I'm going to just jump right in here, bring her on with us, and we'll get to talking. Welcome, Connie. How are you?
I am great. How are you doing?
I am all over the place doing 100 million things at any given time and loving it, loving every moment of it.
Good. I'm happy for you. Nice to see you again.
Yes, I know. And it'll be nice in now what is less than a month to see you again in person in Detroit, which is fantastic. That's where we first met and did one of these interviews live, sitting in front of that big wonky banner that was blocking everybody from getting to the bathrooms behind us and all that fun stuff. But, you know, we took over that hallway and had a lot of fun that weekend. So, yeah, well, what I do with these is as you've probably seen, we do a little taste of an intro of your background, just so that people know who you are, what you do, and then we'll get right into previewing your talk for next month. So let's do the elevator pitch on who you are, because if we really got into your background and history, we would be here for an hour or more, which is well deserved. But you know, we're trying to keep these in a digestible time slot here.
Yes. So, well, I'm Connie Jo Holmes. I am the owner of BU to Be Full Hypnosis and Coaching. My mission is actually in my company name. It's spelled a little goofy, but that was intentional. And at the end of the day, I really teach people how to have that confidence and that self-esteem, as well as the authenticity. So the BU. So when you truly show up as you are, you live a very fulfilled life. You're not putting a mask on anything. And so at the end of the day, that is what I provide to people, but also my focus really, it's kind of been consistent all the way through, but it's really more of late, and I want to make it a little bit more obvious. And it is really helping people step into that version of themselves who can be a public speaker, who can be a business owner, who can do whatever it is they want to do. So in a nutshell, that's what I'm doing.
And you do this for people to do it permanently, ongoing, reframe their life and make it part of who they are. Unlike us stage guys who, you know, give them about 45 minutes to an hour of you are now the star, and then you will now go back to your seats. Have a nice day.
Yeah, but they talk about it for life, though.
They do. And I know that some folks will take that and catapult that experience into something more. But, you know, as we know, in hypnosis, wanting to be somewhere and being ready to be somewhere is an important step in being able to get involved. So folks come to you, that's the intention. Half the time, half the people I have on stage never intended to walk up on my stage anyway. And I think that's probably common with most of these shows. And they just were like, oh, okay, we're doing this now. Great. So you've got a topic that I think should raise more eyebrows than it probably does, and should be a hotter button issue than it actually is in the world of hypnosis. Super important, in my opinion, and obviously we all have opinions and we know what they say about opinions, but let's get into what we're going to be doing and sharing in Michigan.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, so it's titled Principles versus Techniques. The reason I had the idea to do this is because I'm also a hypnosis instructor. So I'm also going to be on that panel too, as I understand it. But as being an instructor, I tell my students that hypnotists are beautiful people, because we are. But I said there's two areas where we get a little bitchy. And that can be, one of them can be script or no script, and progressive muscle relaxation or not. those are areas that I see, that little discussion taking place. And you know what? Everything has its place. But I do tell my students that no matter how good you are, we do start with a script because we've never done this stuff before, right? And so there's nothing wrong with starting with that. However, the moment you can let them go, you let them go, in my opinion. And so that's the foundation from which I teach. But then I do have people say, oh, okay, but what about this? And what about this and everything? So then that's when I realized, you know what, at the end of the day, no matter what technique or no matter what script or whatever you're using, they're all very similar. And so when you understand the principle of why this technique is using this or the script is suggesting this, once you understand the principle, you can let go of the script, you can let go of the technique, you can let go of all that stuff. And then that's when you can perform right here, right now, always be calibrating that client, and you're fully present because you're remembering the principle, not the technique.
Yeah, this reminds me of a conversation that I had recently with a colleague of mine because I was exploring taking an improv class. And was saying, hey, you should take this improv class with me. You're a stage performer too. And the immediate response that I got was, why would you want to do improv when the structure of these shows makes them work? And I said, well, there's a big difference between structure and script.
Yes.
I'm going to have a structure to my show. I'm going to know the routines I'm going to do. I know what cities I'm going to travel as I go through this map, what adventures I'm going to have at each of these spots. That's where the improv comes in. That's where the really being in the moment, making it personal, making it unique for everybody. Because, in my world, I've got 6, 8, 10, 12 people up there that are all having their own unique journey at the same time. Yeah. Most of your work is one-on-one, I assume?
Yes, the majority is, yes.
But even in a group context, when you've got multiple people in there, there's only one set of words coming out of your mouth, but the journey that everybody's going on is unique and personal for them.
Yes.
So yeah, I personally think that the moment that you can not hamstring yourself, I just kind of really got complicated with those words in a way that was unnecessary, but the sooner that you can just be that ship in the ocean that's sailing, the better, and it helps there. So when we're in this talk, is it going to be more lecture, some demonstration, some experience? What can people expect?
So it's going to be a little bit of all of that. Most of my talks, it does start with some, lecture and me speaking, but then I always want to involve the audience. What I actually do plan to do is have a few techniques or inductions even and things like that, and somewhat compare them and to ask people to find what's the principle in here. I just know when I am doing, that's when I learn better. So that's why I want to have it as interactive as possible.
Yeah, I'm definitely a let's do it type of person. I went years with interest in getting involved in hypnosis and had access to all sorts of books and everything like that. But it was really I need to get on a plane. I need to go to the place where this is happening. I need to fully immerse myself in the experience. And weeks after that training, I'm up on stage doing these shows.
Yeah.
I think if I had tried to teach myself from books, I'd still be teaching myself from books.
Yes.
And again, everybody's different, but for me, that is a absolute deal breaker.
Yes.
Tell me more about the panel that you think that you're on. I know very well, as not just this conference, but all conferences, that we're in a fluid and very dynamic world of conferences.
Exactly.
So what's scheduled now and who makes flights and who gets last minute bookings and all of this other stuff, very well, always subject to change. But the plans as of today.
Yes. No, so I am on the panel. It's about instructors. It's about certification is what it's about. So so from what I'm understanding so far is it's really because most of the panels at MIHS is having 4 people on it, I believe, and so it's just different takes on it, and everyone on the panel are people who have been certification instructors for a while. So I'm sure it's going to be an opportunity for people to maybe say, how they do it, what works for them, what hasn't. Also, to me, how it's been modified over time, because I think how a person modifies their training tells you a little bit about their aha moments and things like that. So, and then probably just some, and that's why I know I'm not being complete hijacking and moving here. That, though, is one other reason why I wanted to talk about principles versus techniques at this conference, because to me, I think it really complements being on this panel, because that is one thing I do want to mention during this panel as well, about how it's important to really make sure our students understand the fundamentals, and not just understand them to like memorize them, but why? Why is this important? Because that's what techniques versus principles do. It's like, why is this a principle? Why is this common in all these different inductions or these different techniques people are using? Because to me, when someone understands the why, one, they respect it, at least I do, and then it helps me to remember it as well.
Yeah, so I started learning stage, and then somewhat recently dove in and started exploring and went through the Mike Mandel course for the clinical side of things. And do I plan to take clinical clients? Absolutely not. But that completeness to the knowledge base, that having a greater understanding of what's really happening up here on stage, because it helped open my eyes to some different places that I can take people, not just for the entertainment value that is for everybody sitting in the audience, but really for the experiential value for everybody up there on stage. So that really just getting that, and you mentioned, with the panel and those aha moments. I think those aha moments are the most important to whatever you do. The things that, and I have this conversation regularly with folks that ask me about my current format for doing fundraiser shows. And I tell them straight up, I said, look, this is what's working for me. But if we had this conversation a year or 2 years ago, it would have been a different conversation.
Yeah.
And if we circle back in a year, I'm going to have tweaked it more, inevitably. You have to be changing. You have to be evolving. You have to, I think, want to be getting better in any way that you can with what you're doing, whether it's the silly stuff I'm doing on stage or the serious and life-changing and important stuff that you're doing and other clinical practitioners are doing with clients. If you're not trying to get better, it's almost inevitable that you're getting worse.
Yes, I agree. I tell my students all the time, every single client, I don't care how long I do this, every client teaches me something. And for that reason, when I became certified to certify others, I think it doesn't matter when, it's been a few years now, but I decided immediately that I was going to add a 1 year of mentorship, a monthly 1 hour mentorship, because I'm always growing and learning. So I don't want to just teach somebody and see ya, because as I'm continuing to learn for that year that they have that free access to me as that mentor in this capacity, I want to continue to share with them what I'm learning, not only with the client, like in session, but also networking and marketing and just those types of things. And my students have really found that to be quite invaluable. So that's something I'm going to definitely talk about on the panel. But also, to your point, so I'm sure every single show that you do, you learn something, because it's a different cast of characters, right?
Absolutely, every time. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that I love that you stick with these people for a while, because they have the ability to see that you, a seasoned clinician, still have an ongoing process of learning about what you do, modifying what you do, because you could say it, but to show it and to say, hey, this is, things have moved into this direction a little bit, or that direction, or I found this new concept, or whatever it may be. Obviously, it's going to be very specific to that moment in time. It really, to not to show them how to do it, but to show them how to continue to live and thrive in what we're doing is really, really great, because it's the difference between putting a bunch of clones out there that are just, if we wanted to do that and not have it continue to be dynamic, we're probably less than a year away from being able to have video avatars of AI of ourselves that just do the sessions, and we're not trying to do that. The technology's at our almost available to us, but that's, if that were the point, then that's what we would be doing. And that's, there's still such a personal element to this that isn't going to come from, the computers and the machines. And this one-on-one is really valuable stuff. So, well, I've kept you for a little bit here. I'm super excited to see you in person, to see this talk. For anybody somehow not registered, I'm putting that link down there below. Any last thoughts before we get back to our days and all of our busyness?
I guess just one thing that was in my mind when you were saying that, your stage, but yet you are doing clinical, but you might not actually see clients in the clinical setting. It's funny because I'm clinical, and right now I don't have a desire to do stage. However, I did do my very first stand-up comedy show a few months ago.
I saw that.
And I did that really just to push myself and get myself out of my comfort zone. But also, I talk about confidence all the time. So as you know, being on stage, you need to have some confidence. And so I thought I need to walk my walk, talk my talk in a way that really puts me out there that I haven't done before. So I think that's very important. But I do have to tell you, so I'm going to tell you this in reverse, because like now I feel like I have that bug a little bit. So now I am starting to think about doing stage, but I have an idea of doing it in it's not formulated in my head yet, but I have a lot of ideas cooking. And so I'm in the back of my mind, I'm thinking I would love to roll out with something in 2026. So we'll see.
Well, I will tell you, and you already know this, but I'll tell everybody else, a great way and a great place to start seeing what the bridge from one side to the other, if we're still defining it in those strict terms, which the Michigan Conference is, in my opinion, the best place to break down that barrier and then really realize that no, we're all in the same place, doing very similar, but they look different versions of the same type of stuff. This is the place to do it. So there's plenty of resources there. I'm looking forward to picking your brain and letting you pick mine on what your ideas are and what you want to try to roll out in 2026, because again, I still have the link up there to register if you're not there yet. So if you are on the performance side of things and you want to know more about the clinical side of things, or you're on the clinical side of things and you want to tiptoe over here to the stage side, and or maybe you've caught the bug and it's like, okay, now it's time to take this one step further. This is the place to do it. It's a very open, a very welcoming environment. I enjoy the collaborations with everybody that I've had there, that obviously evidenced by this almost a year later, us still in communication and sharing thoughts and ideas. These are relationships that continue on beyond just the weekend. Super, super valuable stuff. So
yes, without a doubt. It's such a good group of people too, as every conference is, but it's just, I don't know, there's a little specialty here at Michigan that I really enjoy immensely.
I agree. Well, we'll see you in less than a month. Thank you
right.
so much for joining me. This is all we have for this week. I believe I do have 2 more talks with great presenters scheduled for next week on the Tuesday, Thursday, 2 p.m. Eastern slot. So hopefully we see more of you all there. And of course, this will be available for replay on YouTube afterwards. So tune in, subscribe, hit that alert button so you get alarmed when these things start. Otherwise, we will see you in Detroit.
Thank you for tuning in to the Between Two Minds Behind the Scenes podcast. Be sure to follow us on social media under Between Two Minds with the number 2 instead of TWO, or under Enter the Impossible. Thank you, and we hope to see you back for the next episode.